The whine of the break room microwave stopped mid-spin, like even it couldn't stand another Monday. I stood there holding a paper plate of sad leftover enchiladas, but my attention was on the cardboard box someone had shoved under the table. My name was written on the side, Sharpie, all caps, spelled right this time. They were laying people off. But not me. Not yet. I wasn't always the guy people laughed at. At one point I was just Brian from Systems, reliable, not flashy, didn't speak up much in meetings. I wore the same 4 button-downs on rotation, brought homemade lunch, and left at 6 unless someone's server crashed. That's how it worked at Verity Tech. Heads down, don't stir the water, pretend the ship isn't sinking even when your desk chair starts to float. Then I started printing stickers. It wasn't a plan, it was boredom mostly. My cousin had sent me a little Cricut machine for Christmas, one of those craft tools people use to make wedding invitations or label spice jars. I thought it was dumb until I realized it could cut vinyl. I was messing around on my laptop one weekend, made a few designs, satirical stuff about tech burnout, 404, motivation not found, or agile this, scrum that, I'm still underpaid. Posted them on a whim to Reddit. Then Etsy. People bought them, a few bucks here and there. At first it just covered lunch. Then it started covering rent. And then it started getting attention. Not the good kind. "So, Brian," Colin said one day, leaning against my cubicle wall with his kombucha in hand like he owned the air, "we heard you're becoming an entrepreneur." I minimized my screen. I'd been checking an order status. "I sell some stuff online, just for fun." He grinned like I'd admitted to cross-stitching cat memes. "That's adorable. Let us know when you IPO, we'll invest." Chuckles from 2 desks over. It wasn't mean, not outright. That was Colin's thing, low-grade sarcasm, constant microjabs wrapped in performative friendliness. If he wanted to really take you down, he'd do it in a Slack thread so the PMs could watch. After that, people started calling me Sticker Guy. I'd walk into the break room and someone would be like, "Hey, Sticker Guy, can you design one that says meeting survivor with a tombstone?" Cue more laughter. It didn't really bother me at first. But it didn't feel good either. That was 6 months before the layoffs started. Back then, everything still had the illusion of stability. Holiday party was smaller, yeah, and the snack bar went from Kind bars to generic trail mix, but we all thought it was temporary. Market fluctuations, right? By March we knew. The first wave hit engineering. They told everyone to work from home that Friday, then sent calendar invites marked org alignment. After that, people just stopped logging in. And HR stayed suspiciously quiet. Meanwhile, my sticker shop exploded. Someone posted one of my designs on TikTok. A mental health nurse in Chicago messaged me asking for custom ones for her team. Teachers started buying classroom packs. I woke up to hundreds of orders overnight. That's when I got serious. I upgraded from the Cricut to a wide format cutter, got a thermal printer for shipping labels, rented out a small table at a local maker's market on Sundays. My friend Kira helped me set up a Shopify site. At work, I kept my head down. Until the second round hit. This time it was marketing. Including Kira. "You'll be fine," she told me, sitting on the curb outside Verity Tech with her box of desk plants and an unopened bottle of bourbon someone had gifted her last Christmas. "You're the kind of guy who survives." "Yeah," I said, staring at the gravel. "Then why does it feel like I'm waiting for my turn?" She tapped the sticker on her coffee cup. It read, "Low morale, high caffeine. Because you're too decent to celebrate while the building's still burning." I wanted to believe that. The next few weeks were quiet. We all kept pretending. I did my tickets, sat in on Zooms that felt like eulogies, and nodded when Colin cracked another joke about my startup empire. The thing is, by then, it kind of was. I wasn't just doing stickers anymore. People were asking for bulk motivational posters, branded mugs, remote work starter kits. One HR manager from a nonprofit offered me a contract to make custom welcome boxes for their new hires. It wasn't just money. It was freedom. Still, I didn't quit. I wanted to. Every day I logged in and stared at my Outlook calendar, wondering what it would feel like to just not. To say, "Hey, actually I'm out, you can keep your 401k with no match." But there's something weird about staying in a place that's crumbling. You start to feel responsible. Like if you leave, it's your fault it finally falls. Then came the town hall. It was supposed to be an update. What it really was a slow-motion execution. I watched our CEO smile through 45 minutes of vague language about realignment, growth pivots, and embracing operational efficiency. No one asked any questions during Q&A. Because we all knew. By the end of the week, over 40 more people were gone. The Monday after that. That's when I saw the box under the break room table. My name on it. I walked past it like I didn't see. It's out of my desk. Open Slack. Colin messaged me. Heard you're finally cashing out, Shark Tank style shark. I stared at the screen. Then I opened the box. Inside, a copy of my employee file, a severance packet, and a form letter signed by someone in HR I'd never met. But also inside was something I didn't expect. A mug. From my own store. One of my laid off but still awesome mugs. No note. Just the mug wrapped in bubble wrap like someone thought it was funny. I don't remember standing up. I remember the lights. How fluorescent they felt. I remember Colin laughing as I walked past. I remember picking up the mug. And then, I remember walking out past security, past the parking lot, past everything I used to think was my life. And I remember the text I sent Kira. I think it's time. Her reply was instant. Let's go build something real. They all laughed at my side hustle until it paid for their severance. Following the structure and tone exactly as requested. Part 2. The lease on the co-working space was cheap because the bathroom door didn't lock and the coffee machine made a sound like it was dying every time you pressed brew. But the light came in soft through the cracked blinds and no one looked at you like you were a joke. Kira showed up the second day with a folding table, her laptop, and a playlist titled Post-Corporate Renaissance. I didn't ask what was on it. She brought a stack of manila folders and started mapping out product categories on the wall with sticky notes. Brian, she said, halfway through pinning up teacher packs in pink Sharpie, you have a business now, not a hobby, say it. I rolled my eyes. I have a business. She pointed at me, say it like you're not afraid. I tried again. Hear what people don't tell you about leaving a job you hate. It doesn't feel like freedom at first. It feels like you're drifting. For 10 years, my routine was the same. Log in, click tickets, nod in meetings, hold your breath at the end of every quarter. When all of that stops, even when you wanted it to stop, your body doesn't know what to do with itself. You keep checking your email like some ghost of productivity might still live there. I started my mornings sitting in the co-working space with my laptop open and no idea what to type. Orders were coming in, sure, but nothing big, nothing that made this feel like more than a well-decorated panic attack. Kira handled that part better. She worked in marketing for 6 years and it showed. She built out a social content calendar, set up email automations, and showed me how to read analytics dashboards without hyperventilating. She also kept receipts. Not just literal receipts, screenshots. From Slack. From LinkedIn. From our ex-colleagues. Look, she said one afternoon, turning her monitor toward me. Colin just updated his job title to freelance brand strategist. You know what that means. I raised an eyebrow, unemployed with a Canva account. She grinned, exactly. By the end of the first month, we'd cleared more revenue than I used to make in 2. Still didn't feel real. So I kept doing what I knew, solve problems one at a time. I rebuilt the product pages, invested in new packaging, changed the default font from Comic Sans to something that didn't make me flinch, started outsourcing bulk cutting to a local print shop run by a guy named Dennis who called me boss man and offered unsolicited dating advice every Tuesday. We called the shop Ghost Print Kira's idea. She said it sounded cool and hinted at our past lives in corporate limbo. I like that. And then, just when I started to breathe a little easier, the email came. From Verity Tech. A mass one. Subject line, important notice, former employee obligations. Apparently, they were accusing me of violating IP clauses, said I'd used company time and resources to build my competing business. Claimed some of my designs were inspired by proprietary internal humor assets. I choked on my coffee at that line. Internal humor assets. You mean the time y'all laughed at my lunchbox sticker? Kira read the email over my shoulder. They're trying to scare you, she said. I nodded, it's working a little. But fear has a funny way of waking you up. I opened a new browser tab and started researching lawyers. It took 3 weeks, $2,000, and a very bored paralegal named Janelle to sort it out. Turns out nothing Verity Tech said held water. I hadn't used any of their devices. All my Etsy work happened off hours, and humor, as Janelle dryly noted, is not a trade secret. They dropped it quietly. No apology. Just silence. Which, to be honest, hurt more than the threat. Like they couldn't even be bothered to pretend I mattered anymore. Still, the shop kept growing. A podcast mentioned us, then a newsletter. Teachers were bulk ordering, therapists too, nurses. Remote onboarding kits became our top seller. People wanted to feel seen, even if it was through a $4 sticker that said hiding in a Zoom call since 2020. But I wasn't sleeping. Not really. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about shipping errors, inventory counts, whether I'd missed an email from a client who wanted 200 mugs by Friday. I started skipping meals. Kira noticed. "You're building the thing you used to dream about," she said one night as we sat cross-legged on the co-working floor after hours, packaging envelopes under string lights. "Don't forget to actually live in it." I nodded, "I just don't want to mess it up." "You won't," she said, "because you already did the hardest part." One Friday, we got an email from someone named Tamika. Subject: bulk order inquiry, severance gifts. At first I thought it was spam. Then I read the body. "Hey Ghostprint team. Our entire department, marketing, 30+ people, just got laid off by Verity Tech. We're bitter but also trying to go out with humor and dignity. Someone shared your shop link and we fell in love. Can we order 35 still employed in my dreams mugs and matching PTO is a human rights stickers? Also interested in your team survived layoffs poster design. Let me know if we can rush this. We want to hand them out at our final Zoom happy hour." I stared at the screen for a long time. Kira read it too. Then she started laughing. Like full body, tears in her eyes, laughing. "Brian," she said between gasps, "you're selling severance swag to them." I shook my head, half in disbelief. "No," I said slowly, clicking reply, "I'm supplying their severance." The order came in 2 hours later. Rush shipping, paid in full. We packed those mugs with extra care. We even wrote a note for each one. "This isn't the end, it's just a very weird reroute. Thanks for letting us be part of your next chapter." We signed it. Ghostprint crew, formerly known as your colleagues. They all laughed at my side hustle until it paid for their severance. We continue the slow burn, emotionally grounded journey in first-person male voice, picking up right where we left off. Part 3. It was almost funny how fast people forgot where you came from once you were one of them anymore. After the Verity Tech severance order, Ghostprint started getting tagged in posts from former coworkers I hadn't heard from since the breakroom days. People who used to ignore me or side-eye my screen during meetings were now sharing my designs on LinkedIn with captions like, "Support small businesses," or "This guy's killing it, proud to have worked alongside him." Colin posted one too. He didn't tag me. Just a photo of the mug, my mug, on his kitchen counter with a pour-over coffee setup, captioned, "Fueling up for the next chapter, you know who you are, thanks." The comments were full of heart emojis and fake encouragement. I stared at it for 5 minutes before closing the app. The weirdest part of running your own business isn't the risk, or the learning curve, or even the loneliness. It's how quickly it becomes personal. Every product felt like it had a little of me baked into it. Every order felt like trust. Every customer note, whether it said thanks or "this wasn't what I expected," felt like a punch or a hug. I wasn't sticker guy anymore. I was the guy answering emails at 11:53 p.m. trying to track down a lost USPS box for a burned-out teacher in Milwaukee who just wanted her kids to smile on Monday. Kira and I started joking that our unofficial tagline was, "Ghostprint, therapy via adhesive vinyl." By May we needed help. Real help. We couldn't keep packing and cutting and replying to every email ourselves. Kira made a spreadsheet of possible hires, other Verity Tech survivors, freelancers, a couple Etsy creators she knew from an old marketing Slack group. "Let's do it," she said, pointing at the tab labeled Fulfillment Ops. "We're going to build it right this time." The interviews happened over Zoom. We hired 3 people. 2 part-time, 1 full-time. All women, all brilliant, all laid off in the last 6 months. Their resumes were sharp, their attitudes sharper. This isn't pity work, I told them during onboarding. You're not here because you lost a job, you're here because we need people who have seen what happens when leadership stops listening. Everyone nodded. That part didn't need explaining. The first time we hit a 5-figure week, I didn't notice. Too busy managing a wholesale mishap with a non-profit order, some misprint on 200 teamwork is overrated tumblers. I only saw the Stripe notification when Kira came into the space holding her phone, her jaw open. You seeing this? I blinked, seeing what? She turned her screen around. 10,487.36. In 5 days. I sat down. Hard. Dude, she said, laughing, they paid you severance and your replacement salary. I think I whispered, holy sh*T. Then we went out for tacos. Not food truck tacos. Like actual restaurant tacos. With drinks. I paid. Kira toasted with her mezcal and said, to ex-cubicle dwellers everywhere. We started doing pop-ups at local fairs. Not because we needed the sales, but because people wanted to meet us. Turns out, there's something powerful about seeing a face behind the thing that helped you get through a rough day at work. Nurses hugged me. Teachers cried. One woman pulled me aside and said her husband put our underpaid and still doing everything magnet on his fridge the day after he got furloughed, and it made him laugh for the first time in weeks. I didn't know what to say. I think I said, thank you for letting me be part of your fridge. It wasn't smooth, but she smiled anyway. And then one afternoon, as I was restocking enamel pins at a booth downtown, I saw a familiar face in the crowd. Button-down shirt. A little too confident for the setting. Colin. He was carrying a cold brew and standing just far enough back to look like he wasn't sure. I kept restocking. He eventually walked up, brows raised like he was expecting a punchline. This is you, he asked, gesturing at the ghost print banner. I nodded, yep. Didn't expect to see you doing this kind of thing. I gave him a look, what kind of thing? He shrugged, public-facing, you always seemed more back-end. It wasn't an insult exactly, but it wasn't not. I took a breath, let it out slow. You need anything? Colin glanced at the products on the table. Actually, he said, my sister's team just got laid off from her agency. I was wondering if you had, like, a bulk sympathy kit. I stared at him. Then I reached under the table, pulled out one of our burnout survivor care packs, and placed it in front of him. Stickers, a tumbler, a little poster that said still worthy, even without a job title. $60, I said. He looked surprised, no discount. No severance, I said. He blinked, then laughed, okay, fair. He paid in cash. That night, Kira and I were sitting in the space after close. The lights were low, a stack of fulfilled orders sat near the door, ready for the morning. I told her about the Colin moment. She didn't say anything for a while. Then she said, you know he's gonna tell people he supported you early, right? I smiled, let him. He won't ever get it. Doesn't have to. We sat in silence for a bit, then Kira added. Still feels good though, doesn't it? I looked at the banner, the lights, the shelves we built ourselves, the sticker on the door that said we're still here. Yeah, I said. Yeah, it really does. They all laughed at my side hustle until it paid for their severance. We'll keep building the emotional, grounded arc with detailed, lived-in scenes, one step at a time. Part 4. The first time someone asked if we were hearing executives, I thought they were joking. We were at a small business expo hosted in a refurbished high school gym. I just finished a panel on bootstrapping creativity, still wiping sweat off my palms when a tall guy in a navy blazer approached me with a firm handshake and a card that said Fractional COO Freelance Solutions for Growing Brands. Love what you're doing, he said. Your brand voice is tight, messaging's clear. Have you considered bringing in someone to scale you? Scale me, I repeated. He smiled like he was offering to knight me. Help you structure, streamline, prep for acquisition, or franchising, depending on your roadmap. I looked at Kira, who had just joined me carrying a lukewarm coffee and a tote full of notebooks. She raised an eyebrow. I think, I said, choosing my words carefully, we're still focused on making people feel less alone. He blinked, then chuckled like I was being charmingly naive. Respect, he said, tucking his card into my hand anyway, when you're ready. We were. But I put the card in my back pocket just in case. Somewhere around our first six-figure quarter, I stopped checking Stripe every morning. Not because I didn't care, but because the panic had shifted. It wasn't will we survive anymore, it was can we hold this without losing ourselves. We hired 2 more people, got a bigger space. Kira painted the wall in the back with a mural that said, "Work won't love you back, but we might." Customers started sending us care packages. One lady sent homemade granola bars with a note that said, "Because you make my week better, this is what I can give back." A postal worker wrote a review thanking us for finally making stickers that understand union fatigue. A burnt-out startup founder bought our "Capitalism Gave Me Anxiety" and a Yeti tumbler bundle in bulk. We weren't a joke anymore. We were something else. Something real. That made it all the more jarring when the email came in. Subject: urgent collaboration opportunity. The sender: Chandler Beckman, VP of Brand Integration, Verity Tech. A name I hadn't heard in over a year. A name that used to pop up on all-hands calls when some buzzword pivot was being announced like gospel. I opened the email. "Hi Brian. Hope this finds you well. I've been following your growth at Ghost Print and am genuinely impressed by what you and your team have built. It's inspiring to see former Verity Tech talent thriving. We're currently exploring ways to re-engage laid-off communities and reposition our employer brand narrative. I think your product line, especially your resilience-focused kits, could play a powerful role. Would you be open to discussing a partnership?" Best. Chandler. I read it twice. Then a third time. Kira came in just as I was finishing. "Everything okay?" I handed her my laptop. She read it once and then just said flatly, "You've gotta be kidding me." Apparently they want to reposition their employer brand narrative. Oh, so now we're trauma merchandisers. I leaned back, let out a long breath. I should ignore it. "You won't," she said, "because you're a better person than I am." That stung because it was true. I didn't reply right away. I let it sit for 3 days. Kept working, kept printing, kept pretending the email hadn't hit something deep in my chest, some mix of validation and old pain I hadn't fully unpacked. On the 4th day I wrote back. "Hi Chandler. Appreciate the note, I'm open to a conversation, but full transparency, I'm not interested in anything performative or extractive. If you're serious, let's talk, but I won't be used to clean up old messes. Best. Brian." He responded within the hour. Set up a Zoom for the following Tuesday. It was weird seeing Chandler's face in a window again, not a company-wide stream or a pre-recorded announcement, but a real, one-on-one chat. He looked older. Still slick, still polished, but tired in a way I hadn't expected. "I'll get right to it," he said. "Verity Tech knows it's screwed up. Public sentiment post-layoffs tanked. We mishandled a lot. And your brand, your story has become part of the conversation." I waited. He kept going. "We've got a budget. We're trying to rebuild trust. We want to partner with creators who have emerged from that wave and give them a platform, show that we support their success." "That's ironic," I said. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, it is." There was a pause. Then I said, "What exactly do you want from us?" Chandler leaned forward. "Co-branded care kits for internal morale, for alumni engagement, for recruiters to send to candidates to show we're human. We'd buy in bulk, feature you on our channels, possibly even in an office pop-up." He was careful not to say the word forgiveness. But I heard it anyway. Kira and I stayed up late that night talking in the shop after closing. The machines were quiet, the windows fogged from inside. "Feels gross," she said, sipping her decaf tea. "Feels complicated," I replied. "You'd be making them look good. Or we'd be making their employees feel seen," I countered, "and getting paid to do it." Silence. Then she said, "I don't want to be a symbol. I want to build something honest." I nodded. We sat with it. Then I said, "What if we made it conditional?" "How?" No logos, no spin, we write the messaging, we name the truth. Kira looked at me. I'm listening. 2 days later, I sent Chandler our terms. We would design the kits. They'd be branded Ghost Print, not Verity Tech. Each one would include a printed note saying, "This care kit is not an apology. It's an acknowledgement. You were never the problem. No censorship. No edits. Full payment up front." I expected pushback. But Chandler surprised me. He replied, "Understood, approved," and wired the money the next day. We made 200 kits. Shipped them in plain recycled cardboard. No frills. Inside were simple things. A mug that said "Not Disposable." A sticker that read "Still worthy, still here." A soft cover notebook embossed with "You deserved better." The kits went out. And then, something I didn't expect happened. People posted them. Not just thank yous, but stories. Stories about crying in their cars after the layoff, about the guilt of surviving when their friends didn't, about feeling erased. And how getting something, anything, that named it helped. Kira showed me one that stopped me cold. A woman named Amanda had posted a photo of the notebook on her kitchen table, captioned, "I didn't even know I needed to hear this until I did. Thank you, Ghost Print. This helped me forgive myself." Not the company. Herself. They all laughed at my side hustle until it paid for their severance. We'll bring the emotional arc to a close with honesty, realism, and quiet power, just like your prompt demands. Part 5. The day our team moved into the new space, I showed up early. I wasn't trying to make a statement, I just couldn't sleep. My body still ran on old startup anxiety, the kind where you expect something to go wrong the second you let yourself be happy. The new place wasn't fancy, just 2 rooms and a loading dock, but it had sunlight, real walls, and enough room for our printers to breathe. There was a patch of peeling linoleum near the back door that looked like a scar. I liked it. I stood in the middle of the main room, holding my coffee, listening to the buzz of silence before anyone else arrived. Then I pulled out my phone and texted Kira. "You up?" She replied instantly. "Always." We didn't throw a ribbon cutting or make a big deal of it, just set up tables, unpacked the shelves, and ordered pizza. The team showed up with smiles and crates and paint swatches and new ideas for product bundles. Danny, our newest hire, suggested we make a Survivor of Reorg t-shirt. Nina countered with "My layoff funded this mug." Everyone laughed. And I realized we weren't processing pain anymore. We were repurposing it. A few months later, we launched a limited-run line called the Exit Interview Series. Each product was inspired by real stories from former employees who submitted anonymous quotes. One sticker said, "My boss called it a growth opportunity while escorting me out." Another, "They told me I was family, then ghosted me like an ex." We included small zines in each order, sharing anonymized snippets of workplace injustice, the kind you're not supposed to talk about because burning bridges might ruin your future. But people talked anyway. And bought. And shared. And slowly, a kind of movement formed around the idea that maybe we weren't all crazy, maybe the system was. We started getting emails from journalists, not big outlets, but enough to make us realize people were paying attention. That we weren't just printing. We were documenting. Then came the panel invite. A business school in Seattle. They were hosting a talk called Resilience Entrepreneurs, Building Something After Burnout. They wanted me. Me. Not Kira, not the Ghost Print team. Me. I almost said no. Not because I wasn't honored, but because it scared me. Being the face of something meant being seen in ways I wasn't used to, vulnerable in ways the stickers never made me. But Kira talked me through it. "It's not about spotlight," she said. "It's about showing someone else they can do it too." So I went. The auditorium was packed. I sat on stage with 2 other founders. One had built an app after a divorce. The other opened a counseling practice after surviving a toxic startup. When it was my turn to speak, I looked out at the rows of people, students, workers, maybe a few who were still hurting. I started slow. Told them about the Cricut machine. About the sarcastic comments. About the first sticker sale that paid for Thai takeout. And then I said something I hadn't planned. I didn't leave my job because I was brave. I left because someone else made the choice for me, and in that space where I thought everything was over, I found the truest version of myself. The room went quiet. Then someone in the back clapped. And others followed. Not loud, not explosive, but real. After the panel, a young guy with nervous energy and scuffed shoes came up to me. Said he'd been fired from his tech job 3 weeks ago, said he'd been ashamed to tell anyone, that he'd been making sarcastic t-shirts on the side just to cope. I told him that's how I started too. He looked stunned. You think it's worth pursuing? I didn't hesitate. I think if it helps even one person feel seen, I said, then it already is worth it. Back home, Kira and I celebrated with cake. Store-bought cheap frosting didn't matter. She lit a candle in the middle and said, "Make a wish, boss man." I looked at the flickering flame and thought about all the things I could wish for: more orders, better margins, maybe even a day off. But what came out instead was this: I hope we never forget why we started. She nodded. We blew it out together. 6 months later, Ghost Print was featured in a short documentary. They showed clips of our packing stations, our sticker wall, the mural Kira painted, even our early product mock-ups on wrinkled paper. At the end, the filmmaker asked me off camera, "What would you say to the people who laughed at your hustle?" I thought about it for a long moment. Then I said, "Nothing. Nothing." I smiled. They already got the message. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life confessions and emotional journeys like this one. ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info.